Let me ask you something. Have you ever been so deep in your thoughts that you forgot to actually live? You replay conversations in your head. You imagine worst-case scenarios. You think about what people might think about you. And before you know it, your mind turns a tiny problem into a giant storm. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Millions of people are trapped inside something called overthinking. And today, I want to tell you a story. The story of someone named Robert, a young man who didn't realize that his biggest enemy wasn't the world, it was his own mind. Robert was 19 years old. He looked normal from the outside. He laughed with friends, he watched movies, he scrolled social media like everyone else. But inside his mind, something was always happening. Robert thought about everything, too much. A simple message from a friend could turn into 20 different interpretations. Why did he reply with just, "Okay"? Is he upset with me? Did I say something wrong? And suddenly, Robert would spend the next hour analyzing a single word. It was exhausting. One night, Robert was lying in bed. The room was dark, the phone was silent, everything around him was calm, but inside his head, a storm had started. He replayed a conversation from earlier that day, a small, awkward moment, a tiny pause in someone's voice. Maybe they think I'm weird. Maybe they don't respect me. What if everyone secretly thinks that? The thoughts kept growing, like dominoes falling one after another. And suddenly, it was 3 a.m. Robert looked at the ceiling and whispered, "Why does my brain never shut up?" A few days later, Robert met his friend, Daniel. They were sitting in a small cafe. Robert looked tired, his eyes heavy, his mind racing like always. Daniel noticed. "Robert, you look like you haven't slept in days." Robert laughed. "My brain won't let me." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Curious, what do you mean?" Robert leaned back in his chair. "My mind analyzes everything, every conversation, every mistake." Daniel smiled gently, and then he said something Robert would never forget. "Your thoughts are not always telling the truth." Robert frowned. "What do you mean?" Daniel shrugged. "Just because you think something doesn't mean it's real." That night, Robert decided to try something different. Instead of fighting his thoughts, he would observe them. When a thought appeared, he wouldn't argue with it. He wouldn't panic. He would simply say in his mind, "Interesting thought," and then he would let it pass. The first time he tried this, his brain exploded with thoughts. Seriously, it felt like a crowd shouting in his head. What if you fail? What if they judge you? What if everything goes wrong? Old Robert would panic, but this time he simply said, "Interesting thought." One day, Robert caught himself overthinking again. He had sent a message to someone and they hadn't replied yet. 10 minutes passed. His brain started again. "They are ignoring you. They must be angry. You said something stupid." Robert suddenly laughed. "Relax, brain. It's been 10 minutes. That moment was important because Robert realized something funny. His brain was like a very dramatic storyteller, always creating worst-case scenarios. Weeks passed. Robert started practicing 3 simple habits. First, he noticed his thoughts. Second, he questioned them. And third, he returned to the present moment. Sometimes he would simply focus on his breathing. Inhale, exhale. It sounded simple, but it was powerful because every time Robert returned to the present, the noise inside his mind became quieter. Months later, something surprising happened. Robert was walking down the street one afternoon. He suddenly realized his mind was quiet, not completely silent, but calm, peaceful. For the first time in years, Robert felt like he was living the moment, not analyzing it, not fearing it, just experiencing it. Here's something important most people never realize. Overthinking doesn't come from intelligence, it comes from fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of judgment, fear of losing control. But life is not meant to be perfectly controlled. Life is meant to be lived. So let me ask you something, right now, at this very moment. What thoughts are running through your mind? Are they helping you or are they trapping you? Remember this, your mind is a powerful tool, but if you never train it, it will control you. The moment you learn to watch your thoughts instead of becoming them, everything changes. And just like Robert, you might discover something surprising. Peace was never outside. It was always inside your mind, waiting for you to stop overthinking.